Welcome to the Property Mindset Podcast, where I am Emma Howitt, mentor, investor, and your guide to building wealth, freedom, and personal transformation through property. Property isn't just about bricks and mortar. It's about building the life that you truly desire. And in this space, we don't just talk strategy. We really dive deep into mindset. Something that I found is often missing in every other industry, but has been an absolute game changer in the professional property circles. So today we're shifting gears and looking at your self-image. Had you even considered that? Had you even thought about your self-image? Well, we're literally going to be talking about how your self-image shapes your results in property and beyond. So let's turn dreams into actions and actions into success. So let's start with a quote from a chap called Maxwell Maltz. Now, I would imagine that most of you have never heard of him. He has written a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. Crazy words. But it is a really, really powerful book. And if you ever get the chance, I'll pop it in the show notes. Give it a read. And his quote is really powerful. He says, "You can never outperform your self-image." So let's think about that. You can never outperform your self-image. So you see people who perhaps have one or two buy-to-lets and they just can't grow their portfolio, or they just don't want to. They don't see themselves as having a big portfolio. And we see this around us, don't we? We have certain people that just see themselves as big, multimillionaires running corporations, and other people who just want to have, maybe a little garden plot and just grow vegetables. And neither is right, wrong. There's no judgment here. It's just that's what we view ourselves at. And in property, it is really key how you see yourself. It really controls your actions and your results. So if you're constantly thinking, I'm just starting out, or I'm not quite ready, or I haven't got the information, you'll be constantly holding yourself back. You're going to hesitate. You're going to second guess everything. And inherently, we know what happens then. We miss opportunities. So self-image is something incredibly powerful. And for most of us, we've never really even considered it. So I know when I very first started out, and I'm not making, again, any judgments here. Everyone must do whatever feels right for themselves. But I didn't always wear makeup, or I didn't always dress as well as I would like to. We've got animals and kids and mud, and quite often, I'd be in my wellies. But it didn't make me feel confident. And when I started looking at my self-image and how I viewed myself, I looked at people and looked at how I would like to view myself. What do I want to be like? And actually, I really liked it when I wore makeup. I really liked it when I've just had my hair done. It makes me feel so much more confident. I really like, if you know me, I really like wearing a hat. It makes me have a brand. It makes me feel literally not like a different person, but it makes me feel $1 million, that kind of thing. So whenever I then walk into a room networking or going on stage and doing a presentation, obviously talking about property, when I've got my makeup on, when I've had my hair done, when I'm wearing a nice outfit, I feel really confident and my self-image feels great. And I am a typical female, and I'm sure you chaps out there are the same. I have some nagging doubts. I've got some extra chub. I have got some lines. I have got, various things that have made me doubt myself over the years physically. And then, of course, we've got that little black dog on, well, that's what I call it, on my shoulder, who's nagging in my ear, making me have these self-doubts as well. So if I constantly believe and listen to that self-image, that one that maybe, you know, you might have a big nose, you might have a double chin, you might have skinny arms, whatever it is, if you're constantly listening to that person, is that really that confident, resourceful investor that you want to be? Or is it somebody like the person I've become, where I feel really confident when I've got my lipstick on, where I'm wearing my great clothes, when I walk in with my head up, my shoulders back, and I am there being confident, feeling confident. And these actions really change us. You will suddenly find that you can network better, negotiate better. Suddenly more opportunities will come to you. And of course, you'll still have things that happen, things that go wrong, but you will bounce back faster. So what I want to do next is just, and I have mentioned it before, but we will put a link to it in the show notes as well, is to talk about our stickman. So the stickman diagram, again, I thought this was quirky, stupid, ridiculous. I'm very logical, and just thought this is really silly. But actually, I absolutely love the stickman diagram now, and we'll put a little picture for you as well. If you imagine, because if you can't see and you haven't looked at it and you're listening while driving or something, is if you literally just imagine a stickman. So I want you to imagine a big round circle at the top. That's the head. You got a stick neck, a little round body at the bottom, and two arms, two legs, just sticking out. And your top of your head is basically, imagine your conscious mind, your thinking mind. The bottom of your head is like your emotional mind, your subconscious mind. And your body is where all the actions take place. Now, you might think, why on earth are you looking at it like that? Inherently, everything that we do, we think in pictures, don't we? So when you're thinking about perhaps your HMO or your buy-to-let or your serviced accommodation, you're probably thinking with serviced accommodation, you're probably thinking the beautiful pictures. You might be thinking of an image of a fantastic client who's left you a really amazing review, and you might physically see that review up on booking.com, but everything comes to us in pictures. We visualize the number of chairs around the dining room table. We visualize these things. But when we talk about our mindset or our mind, what do we see? I mean, quite often people will say, I just see spaghetti, or I see a jumble, or I see my brain. But your mindset isn't your brain, is it? It's not literally one thing. Your mindset is your whole being. You know, whatever your mindset is whether you're happy, you're sad, whether you run or you lie down. It's absolutely everything. It's the way you think, the way you feel, and the way you act. And you can see with this stick man, it enables you to think, well, how am I controlling the way I think? So this is kind of everything around me. How I feel. So internally, how am I responding? How do I wake up in the morning? And then my actions. What am I actually doing? So your self-image really controls your behaviors and therefore your results. So your behaviors are created from what you think, what you feel, and what you do. And what you think, what you feel, and what you do gives you your results. So this was mind-blowing to me. I was suddenly able to see, wow, if I actually am able to change those things, so perhaps how I'm thinking, maybe how I'm feeling, maybe what I'm doing, I can literally change my results. And before that, I often felt very stuck that I couldn't change my results. So and we'll go into the stickman in another episode, but really, really consider that by thinking about what goes through your mind and how you act has such a huge impact on how you behave and what your self-image is. And it's so important to think about that self-image. Think about other people. Think about what are the things that somebody else does that actually I think I would like to incorporate. So again, one really simple thing for me is I used to walk around like looking at the ground, and it was very practical because I didn't want to trip over. But I kind of realized that it was sort of stooping. It wasn't like a confident way of walking. And when I actually pushed my shoulders back, held my head up, and also everywhere I go, I have a huge smile on my face. I love smiling at complete strangers, probably think I'm mad, but the response of that is enormous. And we have a little game actually when I drive my daughter to school. There are some dog walkers, and there's just one person that never smiles. So I'm always beaming that smile because you never know how your smile can change somebody's life in an instant. We never know everyone else's situation. So your self-image, if you see yourself as capable, if you see yourself as valuable, then perhaps going and asking for JV funding, that will be something that's much more confident because you see the value in yourself. And I often get people who've got, quite a number of properties coming to me or having done, so I've got quite a few mentees that have done done up their own properties or already flipped their own properties and then bought a bigger house. And they have got so much experience, but literally because they're kind of new to what I call this professional property space, they feel like they haven't got that expertise. And I'm like, no, you have got so much expertise. And it's looking at what you have to be able to give you that confidence. So if your self-image is somebody of lack, somebody who, is not someone who can be lent money to, who doesn't have this confidence, then that's going to come across. So think about, well, who are you? See all the things that make you a great person. I mean, do you see yourself as an expert? Would you be happy to speak up in a networking room of property investors? Wow, that sounds quite scary, doesn't it? But I suspect there are areas where you are an expert. So I was talking to another one of my mentees, and he was going to a big 2 or 3 day sort of training seminar. You get lots of these sort of free or cheap training seminars. And I was explaining to him how he might take advantage of these 3 days. And he was kind of in the mindset that he was new to property. He did have one buy to let, but it was a bit sort of more accidental. And he really felt, like he was going to be going in and doing all the learning and everyone else would know more than him. And then I reminded him that he had had a huge amount of experience in construction. He knew a huge amount about doing up properties, renovations. He'd experienced it. He'd done it. And I was explaining to him that actually he needed to go into this as with the self-image of knowing that actually he was an expert in that compared to others. So if I compare myself when I very first started, I knew nothing about renovations. I knew nothing about any of those things. So had I met him at a networking event, I'd have been like, wow, you are so experienced at this. I want to chat to you because you know something that I don't. So can you see you can suddenly go into that networking and feel really confident? I mean, it might be that it's not even property related. You might be really good at marketing. You might have a great website. You just might be great at sales. You might be great at negotiating. All of these things are transferable. Property is a relationship game. It's just another business. Yeah. So if we see ourselves as stuck or as small, we're going to shrink away from those opportunities. So it's so key that you think about this self-image, how you view yourself, because that is what is holding you back. And actually, Bob Proctor, who I am just a huge, huge fan of, he actually changed his self-image, I think, I don't know, but 3 or 4 times. So if you imagine you are used to earning, let's say, £25,000 a year, okay? You are probably surrounded by other people who earn a similar amount, and you live in that kind of £25,000 a year. Now, say you decide that you want to earn £100,000 a year. You have to change your self-image because you have to suddenly think like somebody who earns £100,000. You have to act like somebody who earns £100,000. You need to feel like somebody who earns £100,000. And you actually have to start doing it really before you actually get there. You need to surround yourself by perhaps other people who are earning that kind of money. You need to be doing a job where you can get that as a remuneration. So it is something that if you have reached what I would say a plateau, you have to consider, well, what do I need to change? What do I need to upgrade to get me to that next level that I want to go to? So, do you think that, Jeff Bezos, when he started Amazon, as a tiny business, do you think he thinks, he feels, and he acts differently now? Of course he does. He's completely changed. He's completely upgraded who he is to reflect what comes into him. So this self-image is a really, really powerful. So what are sort of practical ways that we can start upgrading our self-image? And there are kind of practical ways of reprogramming. So some of them might be daily affirmations. I am a confident, successful property investor. And there are definitely some people that don't agree with those. But actually, what I like is I do like to have a lot of affirmations and I do talk through them. And I tend to use the same ones for months on end, if not years. One of them I've been using for many years. And it's just this kind of constant repetition of reminding yourself that this is what I'm working towards, this is what I can be. And it's really visualizing. That's what the most important thing is with daily affirmations, is actually visualizing being that person. So this is how we start to infiltrate this new self-image script into our subconscious, because our subconscious accepts whatever we send it, whether it's true or false. So if you're just imagining constantly that you're lying on a beach, you start thinking about that more and more and more, and this is what you want to do, and your subconscious starts searching to give you what you want. So daily affirmations, I actually think are really great. Also, catching yourself if something, bad is happening, think about, well, how could I have done that differently? What could I do to respond in the way that this property investor that I want to be, how would they have responded? And if you're uncertain, surround yourself by other property investors, get out there, get networking, and ask them, what would you do in this situation? Ask the successful ones, what would they do? So again, we spoke about visualization. This is huge. And then again, journaling. If you do that kind of thing, journaling is a great way to reflect on moments that you have acted either not aligned to the way you want your self-image to be, but equally aligning to it. So when you've done things that are absolutely where you want to be and where you've done things that aren't, journal about it, ask people about it, share about it. And go through it like that. And these are really, really helpful. So when you're doing your affirmations, I would always start with, I'm so happy and grateful that. And it may be that you say, I'm so happy and grateful that I have a portfolio worth £2 million, or that I am driving in my brand new, I don't know, BMW, whatever it is. Or it may be that I'm so happy and grateful now that others see me as a successful investor. So especially if you go, so I've had some mentees who have gone and spoken at local events, local property investing events, and their confidence has just grown massively. They've suddenly seen themselves, excuse me, as experts in what they were talking about. And this has really helped to grow their self-image. So all of these things are just so key for us to move forward with and understand how we can look at ourselves in this kind of different way. And this increased self-image, do you think that before her presentation or before their presentation, they may have been feeling a bit nervous, maybe some doubts coming in, but after a really powerful, successful presentation, and quite often, even if you didn't think it was that great, others will think it's great, you're going to suddenly feel so much more confident afterwards. Suddenly your self-image has grown. You're going to have better conversations afterwards. You're going to be able to make decisions much more quickly. And we have another episode all about making decisions. It's a huge, huge asset to have. And you will have more resilience. So I think I love this William James quote, act as if what you do makes a difference. It does. How powerful is that? So act as if what you do makes a difference. It does. It is so, so key and so, so important. And then one final action that will absolutely 10x your property journey is to write your self-image script. Oh, Emma, what on earth is a self-image script? That sounds crackers. So a self-image script is a really detailed description of you. And it can be just as you as a property investor, or it might be your whole life. So for me, it was actually my whole life. I described my relationship with my kids, how I wanted to be as a parent, how they responded. Some of that was some desperate hope that they were always lovely and picked up their pants off the floor. But equally, it was the way I walked, the way I talked, the way I walked into rooms, the way people reacted to me, the way I dealt with success, the way the amount of money that was coming to me, all of my properties, how those property deals went. So I really deep dived into this. Now, I'm not much of a writer, so inherently, I just wrote a couple of sides. Now, I know other people who write pages and pages and pages. And again, this is something that Bob Proctor highly recommends people to do. It's a huge, huge impact on how you can step up your self-image and step up your results. So again, you might want to drop in there, like I did, how you walk, how you talk, how you behave. It might be the type of properties you own. It may be your financial achievements. It might be your lifestyle. Have you bought a house? Have you bought a car? And again, make sure you start with, I'm so happy and grateful now that. Do it in the present. Do it that you have achieved these things now. And it will really inspire you to take through. So make sure you take a couple of hours out. And if you've got a family or you're busy, go to a coffee shop, steal away some time away from everyone, go and sit by a lake, whatever it is. Most of the time I do that when I'm away, like if I'm in a hotel room and I just literally lock myself in and think, right, I'm going to write now. And I'm really going to think about that. And you'll be amazed. Write it down, and you should really read it a minimum of once a week. Come back, read it, remind yourself, put reminders in there. And what's incredible is suddenly things that you have written about become reality. And that is so, so powerful. So who is going to do this? Please do comment. Are you going to do your self-image script? It is something that can absolutely be a game changer in your property journey. So I would really, really recommend to take it on board and absolutely go for this. And I am going to close with Oprah Winfrey. I absolutely love Oprah. And she says, you don't become what you want, you become what you believe. You don't become what you want. You become what you believe. Guys, this is one of the most powerful things that you can do to change your life. Your self-image shapes your results in property and beyond. So remember, property success isn't just about what you do. It is so much about what you think. When you combine a strong strategy with an unstoppable mindset, there is no limit to what you can achieve. Reflect on this episode today and really consider what is the one thing that you can take away from this week to get you closer to achieving what you want to achieve in property. Are you going to write your self-image script? Are you going to do that visualization? Are you going to do some journaling? And don't just say you're going to do it. What are you going to put in place to ensure that you make those changes? And of course, if you know anyone struggling on their property journey, please do share this episode because it could be the absolute game changer that they need. Remember, the more people that we help, actually, the greater our own wealth is in every sense of the word. Growing this community means growing the potential that we all have to succeed together. And of course, guys, your mindset is your greatest property. Keep building it.